My name is Lauricia, and I'm a singer, songwriter, and musician. I'm on YouTube and such. And I just wanted to talk about earliest memory I have. And it's a very vivid, clear memory that I've always had throughout my life. It's basically of me just like existing. I can't quite explain it very well, but it's like existing and like kind of just like laying back. And I didn't really feel any like physicalness of like my body. I didn't feel aware of that. It was just like me floating there, and there was like this very bright light in front of me, like just surrounding me. And it was very warm, but it wasn't like hot or uncomfortable. It was very like loving, warm. Every time I think of it, it's indescribable. And I just remember feeling enveloped by that light and that warmth. And as I was existing there, I saw a bunch of beings surrounding me, like looking down at me. I don't know who they were. I can't remember their faces or anything, but I just remember seeing them emanating with light. And there were probably about 5 or 6 of them surrounding me. And I just remember looking up at them and just feeling an intense amount of comfort and love and warmth and energy. It was just like emanating everywhere. And that's the earliest memory I have. And I can't really explain what it was, or I could never explain what it was until later in life. The other thing was I wasn't scared at all. It felt familiar. It felt loving. It felt just great. It was like a wonderful feeling. But the only thing I remember being unpleasant is at one point I felt like I was being confined, like kind of just like pushed in something, and then hearing the sound of my own screams. I just remember hearing that it was like traumatic screaming that I heard, and that was gone. Like all the people around me were gone. The light, that warm light, loving light was gone. And that's all I remember from that. And after that happened, like my life was pretty much a blur except for that experience. I remember that experience very well. And at about 5 years old, my mother passed away, which was quite dramatic for me and for my father as well. And, for a while there, it was just me and my father. I remember that event very well because it was so traumatic. But yeah, I had that experience and then my mother passing away. And I just remember my childhood being strange. Like I was always picked on. Kids thought that I was weird. I didn't fit in. I was put in a special class for emotional support, even though I was smart. Like I was always off in my own world. I would be just like talking to animals or talking to trees outside or flowers, or, I was just in my own head a lot. And the other thing that happened was that I became very fluent in music from a very young age. And that was quite apparent in music classes and choirs, and also my interests in music were very heightened, I'd say. So one of the first things I wanted to play was violin, and that's something I excelled at beyond the lessons that I was taking. And I never felt special in it. I never felt like I'm special or better than anybody else, but it was like a natural thing. Like it just felt like second nature to just pick up an instrument and play it, like to just hear a sound and play it. But in those moments when I would excel at music, I would be met with a lot of anger and jealousy in classes. And there was even a point where the teacher took me out of that violin class so that I would perform solo. And, that kind of made me a little bit more picked on by the other kids. They just thought that, who do you think you are? Why do you think you're so special, or something like that? And I just kind of stayed in that as long as I could. I mean, I've been active in music all my life. That's always been something that helped me through those moments when I would be picked on or be made to feel weird or not fit in. With music, I always felt like I fit in. And with other people that had that knack of music, of being able to, just pick up an instrument and play it. We kind of had, moments where we're like, we understand each other, it's kind of like an understanding there. And I've also found a lot of interest in foreign languages because to me they sound musical. So one of the projects that I've worked on has been every country in the entire world challenge, just out of my own interest, where I pick a song from each country in the world and I try to learn the language as much as I can to introduce the video that I'm going to do. And then I present the song and I play a different instrument sometimes. But I love to do that because it just feels like a connectivity between us, like to just like music, language, culture, love, just all of that, putting that all of that into the video. And going back to my childhood, I just remember feeling very different from other kids because a lot of other kids, they wanted to talk about games and toys. And even though I liked that stuff too, I was more interested in like the elderly people in the neighborhood. Like I was always hanging out with elderly people. There was this one old lady I used to go visit, and she would talk about her near-death experience. And I found that more fascinating than talking to kids about toys. Or like there was this old man that used to walk up and down our street with a dog, and I felt compelled to reach out to him. And when I did, I found out that he had no family. He was very lonely. So I invited him to come and like just spend time with me and my dad, just have dinner with us. And he became like a really good friend of ours. And I found more interesting things with elderly people, or people that were way older than me, and animals, nature. I would always be spending time outside. I would always be talking, like I said, talking to animals and even trees. I would talk to beings that I kind of like felt were around me, but I couldn't see them as a kid. So I just never really understood all that until later when I asked my dad about this experience that I remembered. I told him about it and he didn't really know what to say. He just told me that I almost died when I was born because I was premature and I only weighed 4 pounds. So after he told me that, I only could attribute my experience to having had a near-death experience. But, it was very hard to make sense of it. I felt like I couldn't really talk to anybody about it. He later remarried when I was 8 years old. And I tried to tell my stepmother about that experience, but she was very close-minded about it. And she said, that's ridiculous. How would you remember something like that from that long ago? So I just kind of kept it to myself and didn't really bring it up to any friends or anything because it kind of made me feel weird. And I felt like I'm weird enough. Like, this is the last thing I need to talk about. Like I said, I always kept it to myself. I didn't really tell anybody about it, but I just kind of stayed in music. Music was a place where I could release all my emotions. It felt, like I said, like second nature to me. It felt like something I could use to bring people together. I noticed how that could instantly connect people. And especially if there were people of different backgrounds, like using languages in music as well. And just kind of like fast forwarding a bit. So something else that I wanted to mention is that later in life, like as I got a little older, probably in my 20s and 30s, I started having interesting dreams of people that would have been deceased, like visitations from them. And some of the most earth-shattering ones, I would say, would have been the one from my father later in life, probably in my 30s. Yeah, I was in my 30s, where he came to me in a dream and he said that he wanted to go home. And I woke up knowing that meant he was going to die. So I went to see him the next day. I mean, he was in a nursing home for many years prior to this, and he was nonverbal for quite a long time. But there was no change in his baseline. He was okay. No one was telling me that he was dying. He was just his normal self. But that dream told me otherwise. And I went in to see him the next day, and I just felt an urgency to, say certain things that I needed to say. I held him, I told him, Dad, I understand. It's okay. If you need to go, I'll be all right. And I left feeling like, man, if I'm wrong, what an idiot. But if I'm right, I hope I gave him the peace that he needs to move on. And the next morning, about 5 in the morning, I got the call that he had passed away. So that was quite an amazing event because it allowed me chance to give him the peace that he needed to move on. I had a similar experience with my grandmother who was in the hospital. She was expected to make a full recovery and come out of the hospital and go back into the nursing home, but I had a dream that pretty much similar of her visiting me, and I knew that I had to go and see her. She was like several hours away from me, so I just decided the next day I gotta go. I gotta go see her. And she had tubes down her throat, so she couldn't talk either. But I was just kind of telling her everything's okay, kind of allowing her to interpret it however she wanted. Everything's okay. I'll take care of everything. I love her. And within a week, she passed away while I was still there visiting her and family. And I did just what I said. I took care of everything. I grieved with the family. I made arrangements. And then after that happened, I had quite an interesting visitation from her. I had a few actually, but the most memorable one was where soon after she passed away, I felt a sudden urge to sleep. Like I was driving in the middle of the day and I felt like I just had to pull over and take a nap. So I did that. I slept in the back of my car for about 20 minutes and I had the most intense dream of her, and it was her. She came to me like a young woman. She was vibrant, she was healthy, she was glowing, and she wanted to present herself to me like I've never seen her because I've only seen her as an old lady, my grandmother. And she just like enveloped me in this love. And it was like the most amazing feeling I had. And it felt like I spent hours with her. But when I woke up in the car, I realized it was 20 minutes. And it felt unmistakable that I had spent an amazing time with my grandmother. It was just amazing. So that was something else that happened. And then recently, I had an NDE on April 3rd of this year. I have had some underlying health issues that I just discovered recently. And this caused me to get up out of bed in the morning and pass out on the floor in the bedroom. I don't know how long I was out. I was home alone because my husband was working. I came to, I felt very weak and my heart was like beating really fast and pounding really hard. I didn't quite know what to do. So I grabbed my phone and I crawled to the kitchen and then I opened the door just in case like anybody needed to get to me because I didn't know what was happening. And from there, I was just like laying on the floor of the house and just looking outside, looking out into like the backyard with all the trees and everything else and the flowers. And I was just like praying for God to help me. I didn't quite know who to call. I didn't know like what was going on with me. I just started talking to the trees like I've always done. I just started talking to them and all of a sudden I saw this rainbow of color kind of coming from the roots of the trees in the grass. And we're just kind of connected all together. Like all the trees, I could see them all connected together. And those like roots or energies from the roots, they were like coming over to me and coming to touch me while I was laying there in the house. And it was a really beautiful feeling. I remember it giving me a lot of comfort and it allowed me to have some clarity to know what to do in that situation. Basically, I was bleeding to death, was what was happening. My hemoglobin was dropping, my potassium was dropping. I've suffered from severe anemia for a while due to heavy menstrual bleeding, and this was probably heaviest one I had so far. So that's basically what was happening. And during that time, I knew to call my husband because I was not thinking clearly. My brain was barely working because I had just passed out. So I knew to call my husband. I did that. He came home from work. And then I called a doctor who, when I explained my symptoms to, I thought they were just going to tell me to wait another day and come in or something. But they said, call an ambulance right now. You need to go to the hospital. So I did that. And they came and got me IV right away. I mean, yeah, I was really not in good shape at all. I mean, I was just really losing a lot of blood beyond what I knew. I couldn't even tell because I was just barely able to sit up. And yeah, I had to stay in the hospital for a couple days there and get stabilized. And get an iron infusion and just, a lot of fluids and something to help stop the bleeding. Like I was just really in bad shape there. And one of the things that happened when I was in the hospital, I was quite depressed in the hospital. I remember thinking, why did this happen? Like, what am I supposed to do? I've tried to live a healthy life. I've tried to eat well. What have I done? Just like kind of feeling like, woe is me, And I'm like, God, please just like show me some love. Like, show me love. Show me that you're here with me. And all of a sudden, as clear as day, I got an answer saying, it was so silly of me. Like, how would I not know? He was like, love is all around you. Can't you see it? Like, can't you see it? Can't you feel it? And all of a sudden, it's like, how did I not see this or feel these nurses coming in? They're like, yeah, some of them are a little bit like, desensitized or something, but so many of them were just like so loving. I mean, they really had a lot of love in what they were doing. They really wanted to help me. They really wanted me to get better. And stranger or not, like human to human, they really cared about me. And I felt that love from God through them. And it was like an orchestration in the hospital that, I could see between people. It was just really amazing. And I felt silly to not recognize it, that there I was, woe is me, but yet it's all around. And I think that it's very hard for us when we're day to day working and stuff to remember that. And I guess that experience taught me that. It helped me to see that. It helped me to be aware of love in every little thing, in every person, interaction, and then the love that we can put out to others as well. So in that, I just felt amazing love. I felt that everything's going to be okay. I felt like I could just trust. Even if I don't know everything, I can just trust. And for that, I'm thankful for that experience because it kind of put me on a track of recognizing like, hey, you have love everywhere. You just need to look for it and recognize it. And then that was that experience. So both of these experiences, the one when I was born and then this new one, they both have made me, realize how much I really love connecting with people, with animals, with nature. And I just love to help humanity in any way I can. I've always loved to sit and talk to people and try to help them through their traumas, try to help them connect more with nature, help them heal from loss. Because, like I said, I've lost my mom, I've lost my father. I don't have any grandparents left. I have no siblings. Yeah, I'm healing from loss is something that I have really had to learn in this lifetime. Healing from abuse as well. Also with music, I do a lot of sound healing. I do meditations. I do some energy work and energy healing. I've done Reiki without knowing that I was doing Reiki. So yeah, those are so many things that I love to help people. Yeah, my experiences have definitely helped me to realize that those are the things I need to be doing. I also have done intuitive readings, not tarot readings, but intuitive readings, because I feel like there's so much more at play than just telling someone what their future is. So it's a little bit more involved than just cards. I've done that for friends without really like making it an official thing, but I've extended that to people abroad and, some fans and friends of mine as well. And if you want to know more about me, there's my information in the description. So you can find my email there and also my YouTube channel. And you can see the music that I've done. I have covers there, I have originals, but I also have those country videos. I also have some healing music there. Not much because I kind of keep that for personal stuff. But, if people wanted to contact me for that, I do sound healing. I've studied that as well. So I just want to wish everybody a wonderful existence in this life. And I thank you so much for watching my video and listening to my story and all the love. Bye.